here on this Monday afternoon. Big outperformance today, Carol, by the small and mid-cap stocks versus the large.
Yeah, interesting. I got to say, though, I've been looking at the Treasury curve and just seeing yields back down again. Some optimism over the nominee for U.S. Treasury Secretary. Just reminds me how sensitive this market is going to be with all the twists and turns potentially of the upcoming administration.
You guys are watching stocks and treasuries. I'm still waiting for Bitcoin to hit 100,000. So close.
So close.
Over
you have
the
balloons
weekend.
ready? You ready to go?
No.
Hats and everything.
If you had a balloon, you'd have to keep changing the number on the balloon. That's the problem.
Within $300 of hitting $100,000 just a few days ago, down to 95,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, give it a few minutes and it could all change, right? My question about the bond market, kind of celebrating Scott Bessent's nomination, is that he was chosen in part because of his commitment to tariffs, which is seen as inflationary. So it's a little bit of a head-scratcher. And I talked to Priya Misra of JP Morgan earlier, and she said what the bond market is really focused on is his commitment to tackle the deficit and to tackle deficit spending.
Or this could just all be positioning headed into a shortened holiday trading week and towards the end of the year as well. That U.S. exceptionalism theme, though, clearly continuing throughout all areas of the market.
Yeah, we talk about another day higher for the market, and more importantly, another day where we see the large caps taking the back seat to the smaller and more cyclical parts of this market. That's the broadening that a lot of folks wanted to see, and at least for right now, they get it. Scott Rubner over at Goldman Sachs saying this is the start of a year-end rally. 1% higher today on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 0.3% higher on the S&P 500, 3% higher on the NASDAQ Composite, 1.5% higher on the Russell 2000. S&P mid-caps up 1.5%. And Carol, Dow Transport's going to close out the day higher by 2.2%.
All right, good to know. S&P 500 overall, Romaine breaking down those big numbers. You had most names in the S&P 500 higher, 386 to the upside, Scarlet, 115 to the downside, 2 unchanged.
Yeah, and that's reflected in the sector breakdown as well. You've got REITs, consumer discretionary, and materials all up about 1% or more. The weak links in today's market, the biggest sector in the S&P 500, tech losing about a third of 1%, and energy down about 2% on the day.
All right. And can I just point out, too, before you go, just going back to a conversation Alex and I were having on TV, at least 105 S&P names today hit 52-week highs.
Interesting. All right. Well, here's a name that definitely popped up.
That's 20% of the index, Carol.
Hey, some mansplaining on the percentage. I really appreciate
That's journalist
that.
math.
Love it.
All right. Here's the number one gainer in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, guys. Super Microcomputer up another 16% in today's session. It was up at 80% in the last week. That was the largest weekly gain on record. But we know since the company has submitted that plan to remain listed on the NASDAQ, naming a new auditor, they have definitely had a lot of upside momentum. But keep in mind, still off about 70% from a record that they set back in March. All right, off to another gainer, up 6%. What? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Moderna up about 6%. This was an outperformer in the NASDAQ 100. Remember on Friday, company management said RFK's nomination to the Department of Health and Human Services unlikely to mean that you'll see the removal of vaccines. They said this at a Jefferies fireside chat. Stock has rallied 22% in the past 3 days, still down more than 50% year to date. 10% of the float shorted. But
was there an actual fire?
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Nothing.
All right.
I love it when Carol forgets to ignore me.
I know. It's like, all right, company's going to be presenting at a bunch of healthcare conferences in December. All right, I got one more. I'm going to try and get through it. AMC Entertainment. Did anybody go to the movies this weekend?
No.
No, Wicked and Gladiator. Did you see one?
Wicked. I did neither. Okay. AMC Entertainment, though, I was pretty happy to see people back at the theaters, and so you saw popping that one up about 7%. Tim's getting ready to take his kids, though, to some movies. Are you thinking about it, right?
Moana 2, man. Come on,
Yeah,
right?
that's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's a birthday party. That's a
ticket.
drop-off birthday party. We're excited about that one. Hey, Tesla shares falling today by 4%. Look at that. This is interesting. After Bloomberg News reported that Governor Gavin Newsom of California, he unveiled plans to offer state incentives to EV buyers if President-elect Donald Trump repeals that federal subsidy after he takes office next year. And he said Teslas would be excluded from such rebates. The idea is that this would spur greater competition. So the governor's office told Bloomberg News that the proposal includes market share limitations, and those limitations would exclude Tesla from those credit shares. We're pretty steady. during the day, but then fell late in the session, finished down 4%. Macy's shares fell 2.2% today. This after the company said it would delay its third quarter earnings release after an investigation revealed an employee hid more than $100 million of expenses. We do expect Macy's to come out with those numbers by December 11th. We'll wait and see if they release more information about this employee, quote, intentionally making erroneous accounting accrual entries tied to $132 to $154 million of cumulative delivery expenses stretching over multiple years. The company said this earlier today. Once again, shares down a little more than 2%. And look at this one. Cassava Sciences fell 84% today. It's the largest decline on a record for the company since it went public back in the year 2000. The company said its Alzheimer's treatment did not show a significant reduction in cognitive or functional decline versus placebo in patients with mild to moderate levels of the disease. This is in a phase 3 study. Investors selling as a result today.
All right, I just want to touch on yields, guys, because this was pretty exciting in the space. You got buying across the curve, but that curve is now absolutely flat. So do we actually invert again? We also did a 2-year auction. It seemed like it was a solid bid to cover ratio, although the yield was higher than the previous auction. And we get a 5 and we get a 7-year later on this week, bringing together about $114 billion worth of Treasury supply, guys. Zoom. Let me go to Zoom. Should we go to Zoom? Because
they're still earnings?
They're earnings, and they're changing their name.
They're changing their name.
That's all we know.
They're going from Zoom video communications.
Okay.
To get this, Tim, wait for it.
Okay.
Zoom communications. So they're dropping the video.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what that means.
They don't want to limit themselves.
Video?
No, they don't want to limit themselves. Optionality.
Is that because everybody turns off the video when they're doing the meetings?
I don't do that. You do that?
No, we're not allowed to do that here. This is
Younger
another
people
company.
do that. That's a Gen Z thing.
I do it.
Yeah.
Don't you do
Oh, yeah,
it?
I
Gen
didn't know
Z.
you're really there.
Gen Z does it.
Sometimes I'm in my pajamas. I don't want anybody to leave it on.
Okay, while we wait for Zoom.
Can we talk private colleges?
Yeah,
'Cause,
let's
you know,
talk a little bit
work
about
hours?
some
Black
private schools.
Friday is coming. Things will be on sale. But right now, Tim, there's
you.
some private
Tuition?
colleges, tuition on sale.
Yeah,
On
so
sale? Wait, on sale.
mean,
like,
don't get your
explain.
hopes
All right.
up.
It's
Don't get
kind
your
of a
hopes up.
haircut.
There's sort of 2 tiers of what's happening here, okay? So you got a college out in Minnesota, Bethel University. It's about $44,000 a year. Next year, they're going to only charge about $26,000. It's one of a dozen across the U.S. They're going to slash prices in an effort to bring in more students. Supply and demand, folks.
That's good. How much was it? How much was college when you went, Scarlett?
$20,000 a year.
20,000. How about you?
16?
Yeah.
But it was much lower, and then it re-rated to 16.
I'm older than you, so I was even lower than that. So, yeah.
Now it's almost 100,000.
I guess that's a
It's
bargain. I
unbelievable.
mean, look, I guess you're saving, quote unquote, whatever, the 20 grand or whatever for this particular college. But at some point, you need the bigger colleges to get in on this. Otherwise, you're not really going to see much of the needle moved.
All right, let's go to Zoom, guys, because the earnings are out. It's
Which is
changing
a
its
Zoom
name.
or Zoom Video?
It's Zoom Communications, previously known as Zoom Video. Taking a look here at, let's see, fourth quarter earnings coming in. The range is 129 to 130. That's a little better than estimated. Their revenue forecast for the fourth quarter on the high end, 1.18 billion. That's a little better than estimated as well. And the stock, though, down about 6% on that.
In terms of full year outlook, Zoom Video or Zoom Communications now sees revenue from 4.66 billion. Well, I don't actually have the range, and now it sees 4.63 to 4.64. So we're talking about a really narrow range here.
Yeah, and this was the big question, of course, during the pandemic was how did they sustain that growth? Remember, they were growing something like 300% in 2021, also triple digits, I think, in 2022. And now we're talking about
a utility
2 to 3% growth.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, well, what's the longer term story? And this is a young company, so it's not like, this is some mature company that can't find a way to grow. Where's the growth coming from?
I'm still wondering about this name change. Zoom Video to Zoom Communications. Is it because of AI? Here's what Eric Yuan said. A quote, at Zoomtopia, we announced Zoomtopia. Major milestones such as AI Companion 2.0 and paid add-ons for AI Companion and industry-specific AI customization.
What does that mean?
Further cementing our vision to deliver a differentiated AI-first
So
network platform. It's about AI.
When
Why didn't they just
Zuckerberg
include AI
pivoted to the
in the name?
metaverse or something like that?
Here's a good headline. Zoom boosting its buyback by $1.2 billion. So we'll see.
Yeah, can I squeeze in another earnings? Leslie's. which makes pool equipment, ultimate discretionary spend down 15% in after-hours trade. Big miss on a couple key metrics, including on EPS.
If only you had bought made a pool.
I tried to, but
no one wants a pool. They already got their pool. They're done.
The condo board, was kind of.
They were not on board.
They frowned on that for the lobby.
Yeah, I don't know. You know how hard it was just to get a washer dryer in the.
Yes, I do.
All right, guys, that is a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals Monday almost over. We will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.